True and false prophets. No matter what is done to displace the truth, it will nevertheless prevail, even though misconceptions will claim countess victims. Yet anyone with serious intentions will find the truth, he will also clearly recognize misconception as such, and it will be of no further danger to him. The fact that people generally fall prey to error is understandable, since error always promises certain advantages to a person, be they of a spiritual or an earthly nature. And people are always interested in gaining advantages, they do not love truth for the sake of truth, it always has to involve a benefit for them, only then are they willing to accept it. Pure truth, however, presents everything clearly and openly and can also result in a person's disadvantage if the world, his earthly well-being, still means too much to him. For this reason, it often meets with little approval. This is why the human being rather accepts error than truth, since he always hopes to gain a certain advantage, because error is more inclined to comply with his wishes. And thus, people don't want to know or hear about a destruction of earth, of an end of all life and creations on earth. And what they are now offered under the cover of truth, what is still giving them a small ray of hope that the end is avoidable, will be accepted by them, and they rather support this than the pure truth which, after all, would make them feel committed to prepare themselves for a definite end. There will always be prophets who proclaim the end on behalf of God. There will also be those who speak on behalf of his adversary who, being false prophets, will try to invalidate those proclamations, who make promises to people but do not draw their attention to the certain end and instead try to make out that it can be avoided. And again, these prophets will meet with greater approval because people don't want an end to come, thus they rather accept teachings which promise them an advantage. Completely ignorant people will find it difficult to differentiate between lies and truth. But a person who has already been initiated into spiritual knowledge need only question, as a criterion of truth and fallacy, the purpose of a doctrine, what it aims to achieve. If it wants to impart more knowledge to a person, if it wants to achieve the improvement of his character, if it helps him to detach himself from matter, then it is of divine origin and has to be valued as truth. If, however, it intends to create a better earthly living standard, which often takes place under the guise of piety, the teaching can be unhesitatingly rejected as misguided and having originated from God's adversary. But during the last days many false prophets will come forward on his behalf, because neither the adversary nor his followers want to admit to an end. And thus, even people who consider an end will be fooled by him again. He will plunge them into confusion. He will argue the proclamations of true prophets with proclamations of false prophets, since during the last days the darkness will steadily intensify and anyone in possession of light should protect it from getting extinguished, which can be done if his love for truth is strong, if he just holds on to God and his word. But anyone who is not content with the soft light of God's love will search for deceptive lights and won't take care of the small light which glows in the darkness of night. And then it can be easily extinguished by God's adversary, and his deception was successful. He himself appeared as an angel of light and found his victims, the world and the desire for it have triumphed. People rather listen to what he has to say because it casts doubt on an end of the earth, on the end of the old and the beginning of a new era, thus it makes people believe that they are in control of it themselves. They recognize this advantage, and the mere fact that he makes people believe that they can delay or avert the implementation of God's plan of salvation identifies Satan's activity. However, this activity is also part of the visible indication of the end, and he will undertake many more attacks against the truth, and he will get especially busy where he finds no resistance due to an absolute desire for truth. Because that is where the lie is not recognized, and where he has an easy game. But he will not be able to deceive those who work for God and on his behalf, for they are enlightened by his Spirit and will always be able to differentiate between truth and error. Amen.